David over at Ashworth Insurance Services, just checking in again. Have you ever asked the question, what is Medishare? What are these Medishare plans? They're becoming more popular these days. I think there might be some confusion. Sometimes we're just not sure what they're for. So I just want to roll through the differences with you real quick. What is a health share plan? So a health share plan is essentially like in a group or association. You could be part of this group for a variety of reasons. You probably don't qualify for all of them. You probably only qualify for some of them because you have to essentially say that you are part of this group in some way, whether that's a religious affiliation or location where you live, something along those lines, or allow you to be part of one of these Medishare plans. So Medishare plans, to be clear, is not insurance. Okay. So Medishare doesn't have the same legal protections that something like an insurance plan actually does. There's no requirement for them to pay up anything. Um, you're essentially relying upon the goodness of people to help cover the cost. And sometimes, that may be right for you. So what are some of the main differences? So health share plans are based on a cooperative model. So where members contribute funds to cover each other's needs versus traditional insurance. This involves premiums. So you pay a premium to a company in exchange for coverage. You're not really reliant upon anybody else. That's how that system works. So coverage, health share plans may have more limited coverage compared to traditional insurance. So um, not all of them because there's such a variety of them, but often they do exclude pre-existing conditions. Coverage may vary depending upon the plan and the organization. So traditional insurance generally provides broader coverage. They might have a little higher premiums, but they cover more things because of that. So the third difference is in cost sharing. Health share plans typically involve cost sharing among members, which means that individuals are responsible for a portion of the group's medical expenses. Traditional insurance is similar actually in that regard, but they also involve cost sharing, but the specifics of that are relatively different. They're not really the same thing. Um, and then the last one that's we mentioned it kind of before. The biggest difference here is legal protection. Health share are generally exempt from all the insurance regulations, so they typically provide fewer legal protections. Traditional insurance plans are subject to state and federal regulations, so it provides a little bit of protection for malpractice. So, who do I recommend Medishare plans for? I've been on a Medishare plan. I've put my family on a Medishare plan before. I'm not against Medishare plans, but they also serve a very particular purpose. So, if you are generally healthy, if you and your family almost never go to the doctor or use them in any way, Medishare is great because it's going to be relatively cheap for you and your family to be on those. And if you kind of feel like you're throwing away money in health insurance because you never use it, this may be a good plan. If you recently lost a job, sometimes a good gap filler is to have some sort of protection in the meantime is a Medishare type plan. Now, what I would say is if you are trying to do Medishare plans for the long haul, that is not a good strategy. So Medishare plans, you really don't want to be on for the long term. There's just a lot of risk involved, and it's the type of risk you really don't want to incur over your whole life. You may want to incur it for a time because it's well calculated. You've been wise and took that risk. But for the long term, you really don't want to have to do that. So I wouldn't recommend doing it for more than a few months. But also, I think a lot of people go on Medishare plans just because they don't know what else to do, that they don't know that there's other options that are available. So if that's you, if you're contemplating going on a Medishare plan just because the plan you have access to at your work is crazy expensive, you don't want to pay that for your family, it's probably not a very good plan to begin with because it was cheap for your employer. If that's someone like you, if you recently lost your job and you just don't know what else to do, you need to you're trying to think of a short-term solution to deal with this until you get on somewhere that may offer health insurance, please reach out to me. There are other plans available to you. You may be able to use a short-term insurance plan to cover a gap for a limited time as you search for a job. We also just have, there are plans out there that are relatively inexpensive to cover your family, and probably don't cost a whole lot more than the Medishare plan that you're already on, and would give you a whole lot better coverage. So if that's you, please reach out. We can kind of talk through your options, see if staying on a Medishare plan is right, or getting on one is right for you, or if moving to a more traditional type insurance product would be the right move for you at this time. So if you got questions, reach out. Happy to answer them. Thanks so much.